Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the First Class, Second Place podcast. I'm your host, Jason Enrique, and with me today, we have a very special guest all the way from Reading, PA. We have none other than the host of Let's Get Personal podcast. I got none other than Kim. How you doing, Kim?
What's up, you guys?
You can hear us okay?
What's up?
You can hear us okay?
Yep, I can hear you perfect.
Perfect. So like I said, this is the first time that I've ever done a virtual episode, Bravery Studios here in lovely Garfield, New Jersey. Shout out to Steve behind the glass. And so first and foremost, how's your day going, Kim? How's life going on in PA?
So first of all, I just want to say that I'm very grateful to be on your podcast tonight.
Thank you. I'm happy to have you on here.
Yes. So I'm gonna just clarify real quick. So yesterday when I got the phone call from you, it was last minute.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, all right, I wasn't paying too much attention to it because I told you to keep me updated just in case.
Right.
You update me, and after you update me, everything just goes to chaos. Like, I start catching a headache. I start feeling like poop. Let's just say that. And I'm like, nah, I got to get it together because I believe that sometimes it be destiny that be telling you something. It just be telling you. And I'm like, I cannot lose this opportunity.
I love that. I really appreciate it.
Like, I can't lose this opportunity. So I feel special that I'm the first one that you do a virtual podcast with.
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, I would have loved to have you in studio, of course, but we'll do that in the near future. But I'm really glad that we were able to get have this happen. And I'm one of those people that no matter what happens, the show must go on. We got to figure out some way, shape, or form.
Yes,
we have like rescheduling and cancellations and things like that. But I don't like to take breaks. I like to keep the ball rolling because that's just how I'm wired, especially when I'm very passionate about something like this. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're so cohesive as far as like content creating, because you've been staying very consistent with your platform as well. But we'll get into all of that, very soon. We have a full hour for the episode. So let me start off the show that I do with every guest that comes on the show. So where does the story of Kim begin? Like, where were you born and raised?
So I was born and raised in the Bronx, 178,
Okay.
179. So 178 Vice and 178 Daily, because I lived on Vice until like I was 5.5, about to be 6. And then my mom decided to move a couple blocks away. So you know how the Bronx is. You know how that goes. You grow up in a tough neighborhood. All you know how to do is defend yourself.
Right.
So I grew up in the streets. Obviously, I had a rough upbringing, but I've learned to forgive and I've learned to heal from it. And I try to tell my story because I feel like maybe someone or a young person at that could listen to my story and realize that they're not alone. They might feel like they're alone in the beginning, but they're not alone.
Right. And I'm actually glad that you brought that up because one of the things that I knew that I really wanted to get in touch with you and work with you and so on and so forth is because I happened to catch an episode of your very first episode of the podcast of Let's Get Personal, which is now available on Spotify and wherever you get your podcasts. So let me start from the beginning, though. So I remember when we had a lovely guest by the name of Vanessa Varela. Shout out to Vanessa, and we're mutual friends with her, and that was that was a very special episode that we did. That was definitely one of the favorite people that I've ever had on the show. And you reached out to me and my co-host at the time about like you really enjoyed the episode and this and that and the third, and then you let me know that you're in the process of starting your own podcast. I'm like, okay, that's good. I love to see it. I'm always about, people doing what they want to do. But I will be honest, in the back of my head, I kind of have that trepidation. Like, I really hope that they take this seriously because I'm a little bit of a stickler when it comes to this medium. And it's a market that's oversaturated. It seems like everybody wants to do it, but not everybody can stay consistent. And then I see that you finally released your first episode. And I remembered you talking about it. So I said, let me go check it out. And when I first heard the first episode, I was hooked instantly because I felt like within a matter of 25 minutes, I got to see really up close and personal who you are. You lived up to the title of Let's Get Personal. And it was very harrowing story. You could definitely like it's all in detail about how a rough bringing that you had in the Bronx, and then growing up as a young woman into an adulthood and everything. And that it's a really good summary of who Kim is. And I think that your transparency and your honesty, and I know it wasn't easy to talk about because I know that it can be pretty emotional for you, but you got through it, and you had the guts and the courage to go ahead and tell your story, which I'm going to be commend you for that. And after that, I was like, this is a story that I'm really interested in knowing, and I think that my audience is going to be receptive to as well. Receptive to as well, excuse me. And yeah, I just kept in contact, and I love the fact, like I mentioned before, that you've been staying consistent. You just released your seventh episode today, so I love the consistency that you're doing, and I could tell that you really have a knack for it, and you really have a passion for this. So, but let me start off with this. Like, so I mentioned before earlier that it seems like this podcast market is saturated, and everybody has one, and everybody has their own reasons for doing it. Why did you personally felt like you needed to do a podcast and get your story out there personally?
All right. So, truth be told, growing up, I was very closed off and I was very shy. So, with that being said, I was always raised that whatever happens at home stays at home. You don't tell nobody what happens in the household. So, with everything that I went through in my household for those amount of years, and I say this before I say anything else. I know that people had rougher upbringings than me, more traumatic upbringings than me, but everybody's trauma is different.
Right.
Everybody's story is different. So to you, your trauma might feel worse than mine's, but to myself, I feel like my trauma was the worst thing ever because I feel like as a child, I should have never went through something like that.
Right.
But then again, people are not perfect. So I started my podcast because I was the type of person, well, I am the type of person that I have people who gravitate to me. And when they gravitate to me, they vent to me. Like sometimes I'll be like, damn, I feel like a therapist that doesn't get paid. You know what I'm saying? But I love all my friends and I don't mind trying to help my friend get through a situation or give her the best advice that I can.
Right.
Even with my male friends, I'm not a male, but I've been around a lot of men in my life because I was, before I met my husband, if you go and tune into my episode, I
Right.
used to date women. So I was always around guys because I felt more comfortable hanging out with guys and having guy friends. So I will, I give advice when they need it. I try to, tell them off of my experience, whatever I've been through. So I'm like, damn, I like to talk. And sometimes I like to talk my shit. Like I be venting and those episodes will come where I'm just in a mind state where I feel like I need to vent to my people and they're just gonna hear me vent.
Hmm.
So I'm like, damn, I want to start I want to start a podcast. And I always had that in the little side of my head. Like, I want to start a podcast. I want to start a podcast. But I left it alone.
Hmm.
I actually got into, and I will never forget, it was around February of this year. I started listening to this mindset coach. And she will have like these group calls and they will, you pay your little due, but you have these calls and she coaches you and she tells you things and she gives you advice. So I had a private call with her and we started talking about it. And she's like, what's something that you always had a passion for, but you feel like you can't do it because either your life or this, whatever it is. And I'm like, you know what? I want to start a podcast. I love
Hmm.
to talk shit and I love to give advice and I love to empower people as much as I can. And I love to uplift people as much as I can. You know why? Because when I grew up, I didn't have that.
Right.
So I was always, I used to bottle up all my emotions. Some of my friends didn't know the stuff that I went through at home, and I used to chill with them every day.
But you still kept that deep inside you because you didn't know how to express it just yet.
Exactly.
Hmm.
So when I launched my first episode, I was like, you know what? How can I launch something that goes to my name. Let's get personal. To go with my brand. And it just came out. My
Mm,
story. How can I get more personal than that? I'm your host and I'm telling you about my story.
right.
So
Well,
let's
I mean, like I said, I commend you for your first episode because that was the one that made me automatically a fan of you and your platform, and I've been listening to it ever since. Now, I did mention earlier that everybody has their own way of or their own reasons, I should say, about doing a podcast, and a lot of it is for monetary reasons and this, that, and the
Mhm.
third. But I don't necessarily get that sense from you. Like, so before, like, what podcast would you say that you were listening to, or what kind of podcast were you into before you decided to start your own?
So I'm not gonna lie to you. And I actually started getting like listening to more podcasts now that I'm a podcaster. But
Hmm.
before I literally took into full effect of me wanting to podcast, my husband listens to this podcast, and still to this day, I don't remember the name. I always forget the name. But my husband will play this podcast. Maybe you know it. It's a group of guys who sit in a
Okay.
barbershop. And the
I think Steve might know that one. I'm not sure,
yo,
but
the conversations that they have will have you like, yo, he is talking facts right now. Like, this is
mm,
the truth. And I like real, raw podcasts. I love
okay,
the testimonies. I like the stories. There's one on Instagram that I was watching not so long ago. I think it's called Trap 100.
okay,
He has these little short clips on Instagram, but you could catch the full story on YouTube. He has episodes of different people who come on his podcast, and they talk about their testimonies, and some of their testimonies are crazy. There was this one lady, she got stabbed, I think it was like 37 times by her man.
Jesus Christ.
Yes, she survived because he was trying to kill her.
Oof.
She survived, and she was so traumatized and so messed up about it. She used to go visit him in jail.
Mm, that's crazy. Now, I want to touch on something that we were discussing earlier. Um, So I was actually on an episode of Let's Get Personal, which I'm very thankful that you asked me to be your very first. Well, no, I'm lying. I wasn't your first guest. Your husband was your first guest. I apologize.
It's
He was the first guest. He was the first guest, and then afterwards I came on episode 6, and that was a really, really great conversation that I had. I told everybody that listens to the podcast, or even just my close friends, that this is one of the most raw, honest, real, and therapeutics guest spots that I've ever done on anybody's podcast, and I think that was a testament to how comfortable I felt around you and your audience to tell my story. And I'm a pretty transparent person overall, especially on this platform. But the sense that I got with you was like I felt like I was in a safe zone and I could talk about stuff that I never probably didn't even get a chance to go speak on my show sometimes because either of limitations or it just didn't cross my mind at that certain time. So that was one of the things that really gave me the confidence to go ahead and jump on your platform. And then we had an amazing conversation. I felt like I needed to get a lot off my chest, and you understood where I was coming from. So I definitely recommend everybody go check out that episode of Let's Get Personal. I believe the title of the topic was "Sometimes They Try to Make You Out to Be the Bad Guy." So it's really harrowing. It's really raw, gritty. It has a little bit of funny moments. We did have some technical difficulties, but I think that she was a pro in handling it and everything. So please go ahead and check it out. Be supportive of Let's Get Personal. Now streaming on Spotify and wherever you get your podcasts.
Thank you.
So one of the things I wanted to ask you is that when talk about your husband. So what I mean by that is when he found out that you were doing this podcast platform and then you asked him to be on the second episode, I can imagine that when somebody is probably a fan, but they never necessarily think about actually being in front of a camera or a mic, it kind of might be a little bit nerving for them or harrowing. But he went through with it and he supported you. But what do you think that his mind was going through when you asked him to be a part of one of your episodes?
Oh, I could tell you exactly how he was. He was shitting bricks because because first of all, he thought that it was gonna be live. So he's automatically thinking like, oh my God, it's gonna be live. So people are gonna be watching us as we're talking. And I remember sitting down and he goes, this is live? I'm like, no, we're gonna record it and then I'm gonna post it. He's like, oh, but he was not ready for it. I told him, and he thought I was joking. Cause when I
Mhm.
launched my first episode, I was like, babe, are you ready? Cause you're gonna be on the second one. He's like, no, I'm not. I'm like, no, I'm serious. He's like, for real? I'm like, yeah, we're doing it this Saturday. And he's like, oh my God, oh my God. What do I do? What do I say? I'm like, just go with the flow. Just follow me.
Yeah, basically just keep on doing the same thing that you guys have been doing for years. How long have you guys been together now?
So we've been together 10, and in October 28th, we make 3 years of marriage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Aww.
best friend right there. He drives me crazy sometimes, but
I can't think of a best friend that doesn't drive anybody crazy in some
you
way,
know what
shape,
I'm saying? But I love him. He's my everything, and he knows that.
right. And I don't want to get too much, I don't want to spoil too much because I want the audience to check out your podcast. But what I will say is it's very interesting how you guys met and how you ended up together, especially considering that you were a different sexual orientation prior. But I I don't want to spoil any more than that. It's a crazy, unbelievable story. Just go ahead and check out the episode, or check out the podcast, not just the episode, check out the entire podcast. So when I jumped on your podcast, we talked about the topic of people making you out to be the bad guy just so they could just so they could blind the fact that they were actually doing something shitty to you or they said something shitty to you.
Oh,
And everybody could check out that episode and it's a really good conversation. However, you were taking topics and you wanted to take another topic. No, you wanted to talk about another topic that we never got a chance to bring up because we ran out of time, but I'm now extending you the courtesy of getting into this topic on my platform now. So why don't you go ahead and take it away with this particular topic that you have in mind?
so adding partners to your sex life. We were
Oh
talking about
shit.
that last time.
Okay.
You
Oh.
think I don't be ready? I always be ready when we're going to talk about something specific. Because
Uh-huh. Okay.
I have questions for you on this one.
Okay.
So, me typically, like adding partners to the sex life, I feel like if the relationship is not serious, I feel like maybe it's okay. Because honestly, me from experience, yes, I've dated girls. I've dated
Mhm.
girls for years. So it's not like a thing where I didn't get to do certain, no, like I was with women. I had relationships with women for years and so on. So when I met my husband and I got with my husband and we fell in love or whatever, I personally, right now, I wouldn't be able to be okay with the fact if somebody else is in the bedroom.
Right, right.
And it's only I only could speak for myself because I can't speak for him. Like he'll say that he's fine or whatever, but
Mhm.
I feel like if it got to that point, something is gonna be off.
Okay.
So personally, me, no. But I do have a question for you.
Okay, shoot.
So when you got with her, was it something that you was trying to take serious, like build a serious relationship with, and she took it and didn't pay no mind to it. So she was open to you to probably just so how you know what? No, this is my question. How
Yeah.
did you guys start that situation?
Okay. Well, first and foremost, I think that people are a little bit in the dark about what's happening here, so let me shed some light. So, I think that you're referring to when I was in a previous relationship. I'm not in a relationship now. But I've been single for about a year and some change now. But I think we were discussing about my previous relationship where we decided to spice things up in the bedroom and we decided to add a partner just for the experience.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, this is pretty crazy. I never thought I would talk about this on the show, but fuck it, we here.
You know what? First class,
Yeah,
first
right.
class,
So
it's just got real personal right now.
there you go. I love that. I love that. So in my obviously I can't speak for anybody else, but for my situation, it was listen. every guy, I can't think of any guy out there that has not had at least a fantasy of doing it if they never had a threesome before.
That's
So,
true.
yeah. So, but what's interesting is that we live in a time now where it doesn't seem like it's a rarity. Like it's actually having a little bit more of an occurrence because women are being more open minded sexually.
Mm.
And, it's all about experimenting. And now we have all these, we have all these other orientations in the mix. It's not just gay or lesbian or anything. Like now there's demi pan and bi and a whole bunch of other stuff that I can't even think of right now. It's just a whole
It's a lot.
different vocabulary now. It's a lot. It's a lot. I can't even keep up with all of it. But that's neither here nor there. So, but with that being said, I know that with my previous relationship, I know that every single one of her friends, female friends, I should say, has done something that aspect. They've actually experienced it at least once in their life, and she was the only one that hadn't experienced it. And and then I guess she was curious, and then me, I'm a guy. I mean, I've always had the fantasy ever since I was like 12 years old, whatever. And but I didn't know if it was ever going to be possible, but we did talk about it at the time. We weren't necessarily trying to spice up our sex life or anything. At the time, our sex life was pretty good, but we just figured it would just be an experience. So I just happened to find, long story short, I happened to find somebody that was a friend of mine who we did have a little bit of a history, and I actually commend, the other girl for, being able to swallow her pride and look past that because this is something that we were all going to try to experience. And I think that was the key element there. I think the key element that made everything go, make it go a go, was the fact that this is going to be a first time for everybody included. Like it was me and the two other women. It was going to be a first time experience for everybody. So I think that's what really added the caveat into making this really go ahead. And then afterwards, it happened. It was a great experience. But I think the point that we're getting at right here is, um, looking back, because everything is hindsight in 2020. So somebody had told me, and it makes a lot of sense that, and I think that you'll agree with me on this because you just kind of alluded to it earlier, that if a woman allows you to do that, and there was no restrictions, like everything was just like, it was a one-time thing, so like we're just gonna like no rules or anything, no holds barred, do whatever we want. But somebody had made the point that if somebody is willing to do that, then they're not 100% yours. I mean, they get that it was an experience and this, that, and the third, and they were curious as well. But a person that really wants you and loves you and all that, this, that, and the third, they wouldn't allow that to happen. So it kind of made me think that in my previous relationship, was she really all there for me? And listen, at the end of the day, it's neither here nor there because we've been separated for quite some time now. I don't know what's going on in their life. I wish them the best of luck, and I'm pretty sure that they're doing great in life. But yeah, but as far as that topic is concerned, it was just more of an experience. And obviously, it was a great experience, but it was something that I didn't think about afterwards in hindsight, that maybe that person really wasn't for me 100% if she was, if she was allowed to do something like that. Because I know plenty of friends that would say, I can never share my man or I can never share my girl.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I'm sorry. Like I feel like if the feelings weren't there, then I'll be like, fuck it, let's do it. But when there's feelings and there's chemistry and there's a lot of things involved, it just doesn't feel right.
Right. And there's also jealousy,
In my
somebody.
opinion, because I'm married. That's how I feel.
Right, right.
But
And
did you
well,
guys do it more than once?
I'm sorry.
Did you guys do it more than once?
No, it was a one-time thing. Now, I will say this. I will say this. There was talk about doing it another time. It just didn't happen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
You know
but
what's funny?
the interest was there.
Oh shit. I mean, honestly, if you like it and she likes it, I guess it makes it fun.
Hmm.
But it's funny because I personally know someone that
Right.
has an open marriage. He's married and
Hmm.
they both have side pieces.
Right.
And the side pieces come to their crib and everything.
That's crazy. And but it also kind of brings up an interesting point as well because I happen to know somebody that is kind of in the same realm as me, meaning that they're not married, they've never been married, they don't have any children. But the difference between me and him is that I'm not necessarily for the bachelor life. I actually am the guy that likes to be monogamous and be with that one person, and hopefully we could build something on. But unfortunately, this person that I know, uh, I genuinely believe that they have a sex addiction because they haven't been able to stay faithful to any relationship that they've ever been in, and now they kind of relegated to the point where they think they want to be poly because they just can't see themselves settling with just one person. And this is also a person that is obsessed with threesomes. Like I can't tell you how many times they keep on telling me stories about they did this and that with with who and who. But it is a lifestyle out there, especially in this day and age in 2023. It's definitely out there. It's not something that I'm familiar with very much. I just know certain people in that world. But yeah, I think that's a pretty interesting thing about how some people want to join that life or be part of that lifestyle simply because they have infidelity issues. So it's a good way to assuage their guilt.
I know. And it's crazy because, like you just said, now in this generation, everybody is so open to having multiple partners and be okay with it. And it's just like, where I feel like if you have to have multiple partners, obviously the one that you're trying to take serious, or if you, even if you don't take them serious at all, how can you build chemistry with one person? How
Because you know
can
what it is, we live in this world now of social media and dating apps that we now realize that we have options. And I mentioned this before on an episode before. I think Steve remembers this, where it seems like when it comes to dating, strictly dating, uh, no, you're not going to be. It feels like people don't want to be monogamous on to that one person unless they have a checklist, for lack of a better term, where they have to check out every single box. And if there's box that is unchecked, then they're just going to move on to the next one because the realm of possibilities and options are so large that we like we have so much options now that people feel like we're not going to settle for less. And in some cases, that's I understand that you shouldn't settle for less,
yeah.
but you have to have a little bit of leeway. I mean, the generation before us, do you think that they liked every single person about their partner? No, they had their trials and tribulations, and there were some things that they didn't like about each other. But I think the fact that the options weren't available, it kind of made it clearer to who they felt really comfortable with at the end of the
Mhm.
day. And we're a society now that we're so insecure with ourselves, and we're so afraid of our own skin that we feel like we need to have multiple people and options in order to have some sort of validation. And we're not going to stop until we find that one person. And sadly, it's just a big cesspool at this point because everybody is just dealing with everybody else's insecurities as well as their own.
I don't know. It's just too much for me. And I'll tell you one thing, managing with one, you think I'm gonna be able to manage with five other ones? Oh hell no.
Right. And you know
Mm-mm.
what it is also is that like I mentioned before, it seems like everybody now is in the dating world, like they're going on dating apps or they're finding each other on social media. If I feel like the way that you met your husband is kind of a rarity now. I mean, you didn't meet your husband online or anything. You met him because he almost poked your eye out. So I'm not saying that that's the only way that people are going to find love, but the point that I'm getting at is you met him under a different circumstance, and if I'm not mistaken, this is around the time where you weren't attracted to men just yet, and then
Yeah.
afterwards this guy just opened a whole new world to you, and then now he's your husband with two kids.
Yep. And let me tell you, it's just crazy. Like I see people and the way they're in a relationship, and the second they just, oh, I don't want to be with that person, boop, and just move on. Like it's, I just don't get it. And honestly, to each his own. For real, for real.
Mhm.
You do you. But I feel like I grew up in an era where it's like, if you know that's your person, why you just gonna like let it slip away? Or if you know that's your person, why you gonna mess up what you guys have for one night of fun?
Right. Well,
So
I will say this, that one night of fun didn't have a lasting effect on the relationship. I mean, that wasn't the reason why we split up. It was just one of those things where I think that everybody involved was just interested in doing, even if it was a one time thing. And then we could have just, now it's just a part of our history. That's all it was. But I can't speak for, like I said, I can only speak for myself because there's been plenty stories out there where, I even knew this one girl that I was dating years ago that she told me that she used to be married and they got divorced because her and her ex-husband decided to have a threesome and he ended up falling in love with the other woman.
Oh,
Yeah.
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
No, I hear you.
it's crazy. Like, how? You probably been with that person, let's just say 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. Let's just say 10 years.
Yeah.
And then you have that one night of fun, and now all of a sudden you're in love with the other one.
Again, it's just opening up Pandora's box because we feel
Ooh,
like we have options now.
yeah, it definitely, that
Yeah,
should just,
and I feel like depending on who you are, it could be like a drug. That lifestyle can be addicting. And like I kind of like I alluded to my friend earlier, that their excuse was that they just couldn't find themselves being monogamous with one person, and it was just a perfect way to not feel guilty about cheating anymore. But now I think they've gotten so deep into it now to the point where, that they're just it's an addiction apparently, because that's what they seem to. That's like, it's almost like, I love what Chris Rock talked about on one of his specials before. He said, men cannot go backwards sexually. Women cannot go backwards in lifestyle. So sticking
mhm,
with the men part, if there's one girl out there or, partner, whatever, it doesn't matter what kind of gender or anything like that, was able to do something to you in the bedroom that was able to rock your world, that's it. They want that for the rest of their lives.
mhm.
And so I think in the case with certain people, mainly the person that I just mentioned, I think that he opened up Pandora's box with having multiple partners, and now he can't get out of that lifestyle.
So when you mean multiple partners, do they have their own partners and they come back to each other, or they share each other's partners?
No, no, he's. I mean, I don't know the intricacies of that.
Oh,
I
okay.
just know. I just know that he's. This person is a single person, and they're not in a relationship. But they said if they would like to be in a relationship, it would be with somebody that is poly.
Oh, okay. So they want that open relationship.
Yes, yes,
Got
that's what
you.
they want.
Got you. Yeah. I mean, honestly, like I said, the person that I know personally that is in an
Mhm.
open relationship, they're okay with it. Like they're both okay with it.
Yeah, I
She,
mean, listen, if
she
it
does
works for
her,
them,
yeah, she does her, he does he, and they come to the house, but they don't share. It's like they're separate things.
they
So
got rules,
they together,
basically.
yeah, but they have their separate thing.
Yeah. I personally can't do that myself, but I'm also very aware that these are the times that we're living in these day and age. So
Yeah,
it is what it is. I mean, like I said, I can't really worry about anybody else but myself,
on
but I'm
myself.
fully aware. I'm fully aware. I'm fully aware of what goes on out here in this dirty ass world.
But that's what I'm saying too. Like, no, I can't just be sharing my cootie cat with everybody. No.
Now listen. When I'm single, that's a different story because I got no strings attached and I'm just
He
living
said,
my
I don't
life.
got no strings attached.
Because I'm just living my life. But
But you
but
see,
I
that's
will.
another thing. A guy could do that. The minute a girl starts doing that, it's just a whole different story.
You mean as far as like being judged?
Not like, so it's like, I don't know. Personally, me, I feel like, and maybe it's my opinion. I don't like, listen, to each his own. But if
Right.
I'm single, I could like talk to people, but it has to be just that one person that I'm still like in the bedroom with. If I
Mhm.
was single,
Yeah.
I can't be talking to three and being in the bedroom with three. Just my opinion.
No, I get where you're coming from because I'm pretty much that same way as well. But what I was trying to allude to earlier is that when I'm single, I just do whatever the hell I want. I mean, I don't like I said, I
Oh
have no strings
yeah.
attached. I'm just living life. But I am a one woman man. Like when I find somebody that actually catches my interest, and I'll even tell you this right now. I don't know if I ever told you this or even if the audience is aware, but this is something that I'm actually very proud of. I have never cheated a day in my life. Now, every relationship that I've ever been on, I've never cheated on. Now, I won't lie to you. There's been moments, I'm human. There's been moments where I've thought of a possibility or thought of scenarios, but usually I take that as a sign that, well, maybe this isn't going to work out because if I'm already having these thoughts, then maybe this is not for the long run. But I've consciously made the effort to not do be unfaithful or cheat or anything like that. Now, as far as if I've ever been cheated on, I could tell you that if it has happened, I never knew about it. I don't know. I don't have the evidence. Nobody's ever told me. I have my I have my suspicions, but I don't have many evidence. But all I could say is that I've never personally done that. And I've yeah, when it comes to dating and being in a relationship, I'm usually a one woman man.
No, yes, that is because let me tell you something. A lot of men out here, they don't. It's just like whatever. They could
Yeah,
be
no.
with somebody and they could be with somebody for years. And I've seen this
Mhm.
happen time and time again. They're with somebody, they love that person to death, but they still end up going outside and cheating, but then
Yeah.
want to come back. And it's like they won't leave that person alone, but they always step out on them. And it's like, if you just want to do you, then you need to leave that person alone.
Yeah,
Just
and then sometimes there's people out there that just make really stupid decisions, and I'm gonna explain this to you. So, I know a woman from back in the day who was married and to a guy, and this is actually both their second marriages. And long story short, they ended up divorcing because the husband cheated on this woman. And the ironic thing is that his first marriage ended because he cheated on his first wife as well, and the strangest thing is that he cheated on him with the same woman. So I'm thinking, well, why don't you just be with the woman that you were stepping behind both of these women? You're obviously doing something wrong here.
so he basically left the first one and then went back to the first one.
No, 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 no. So he was married the first time around, and
Uh-huh.
that marriage ended because he was cheating on her with somebody from like I don't know Ecuador or something like that, Peru or something, and then they divorced, and then he meets somebody else, and then they get married, but they ended up getting divorced as well because he was cheating on the second wife with the same woman that he was cheating on with the first wife.
Oh my goodness.
So, like, obviously, you're. Why don't you just stay married or just keep messing around with the one that you keep on sneaking behind their back with?
Or just marry the one that you keep sneaking around behind their back with.
Well, I mean, I could say that, but if he didn't put a ring on it, then she's probably not marriage material. She's just booty material.
Ugh. Yeah, I'm saying, because he cheated one with that one, cheated with the other one. Like, might as well, if you keep going to the mistress, just might as well marry the mistress.
Right.
I'm
And
telling you.
who knows if she even wanted to be married? I don't know the intricacies there. I'm just saying, like, I just found that a very very odd story. But yeah, that's in the dating world and when and the crazy world that we adults deal with. It's sad to say, but nothing really surprises me anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah,
to be
but
honest, it doesn't.
right. But I do love hearing stories about you and your marriage because I know that in this day and age it's not easy, especially with the topic that we're already discussing today, but it seems like it's really solid and I agree with you. I definitely get a sense that you guys are best friends and this is going to be something that you guys are going to have for a very very long time until death because and one of the reasons why I mentioned before that I know that I'm a one woman man is because during my single times, I've spoken to multiple women on different occasions and stuff, but I know what it feels like when you finally meet that one person and then all the other females just go away, like you have no interest in talking to them or entertaining it. You don't think anything. You just simply have tunnel vision on that one person, and I know what that feels like. So I have a sense already of like how I know it's real when I had that feeling because I already had that feeling before and it was a beautiful thing. It didn't work out for whatever reason, but I know it's a real thing. And like I said, I can't speak for everybody else, but I know that feeling when you just know that that's the person that you want to zero in on and just be with and just forget about everybody else.
Listen, I'm gonna be honest with you.
Hmm.
As fucked up that my household was with my parents, where
Hmm.
I got the loyalty of when I say being in a marriage and being in a relationship with someone and committing to someone, I got that from them. Because
Hmm.
through thick and thin, like when I say thick and thin, they were together through ups and downs. They did their tribulations together. Like they went through some shit together, but they managed to keep their marriage afloat and they were
Hmm.
happy.
Right.
So I got that from them. And I always told myself, if I'm going to get married to somebody, it's because that's the person that I'm going to stick with forever. I'm not just going to say yes to say yes.
Hmm.
And the funny thing is, it was quick, like, but I just, you know how they say you feel that in your heart and in your stomach when you get that feeling like that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. And I went with it. And look,
It's
10
that it's
years
the old,
later,
it's that old cliche saying, when you know, you know,
yeah. And it's
and you
true.
just knew.
Yeah. I just knew.
Yeah, and it's funny because as we alluded to earlier, that you had a different sexual orientation at the time when you met him.
Yeah. And I was actually, the person I was with before him, I was actually with them for 3 years.
Mm,
And it was, I'm not going to say that we didn't have our good moments, but it
right.
wasn't all good.
It just wasn't for you. You knew I wasn't for the long run.
Oh, hell no. I'm not going to be with somebody that their anger issues is to get physical. Mm-mm.
Hmm. Right.
It's
Now,
one.
I just because I'm a sucker for romance, believe it or not, and because I'm a naturally curious person, I'm a naturally inquisitive person. I guess when we just talked about that whole cliche saying, when you know, what was that moment for you personally that you knew that this is the man that I want to spend the rest of my life with? Was it one moment specifically, or was it something that built up to it, leading to it?
All right. So so the crazy part is that if obviously you heard my episode,
Mhm.
he made me wait 6 months. He made me, I was on my toes and I slipped up one night. I got drunk and because he met me at my crazy times, he calmed
Mm.
me down because I could be a firecracker. Like I could listen. He
You
calmed
already know how the Bronx do.
me. Hello, DX all day. he okay, I got drunk one night and we were already dating, like he already had made it official.
Mm,
And he comes to pick me up because funny story, I used to work at a bar. I had lost my job and I was trying to keep my rent paid. So I was working at a bar and he would pick me up in the night. Me and my best friend at the time, he would pick us up just because he didn't want the guys to like whatever it was, but he just was trying to keep us safe, obviously.
mhm,
And he got my friend's car, drove up, we got in the car. He was with his boy in the car. And I'm like, yo, where's your pink stuff? Because she had pink stuff in her car. I'm like,
okay.
where's the pink stuff? And I'm like, look at it in the floor. We were in the back seat. I'm like, oh hell no. Y'all have bitches in the car. Oh no. Da, da, da. And when I'm going da, 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 because the Bronx came out of me, I disrespected him in front I disrespected him in front of his friend. He felt violated. Like it was bad. It was bad.
Mm,
So when we get to the apartment, because he was staying over, when he gets to the apartment, he's like, "Oh, I'm leaving. It was nice knowing you, but I cannot do this anymore." And I'm like, "What do you mean? Wait, what did I do?" And he waited for me to get sober too.
mm. Wow.
And he literally was gonna walk out the door, and I literally like I got in front of the door, and I was like, "If you leave, I'm literally gonna cry and I'm gonna pack all my stuff and I'm going to New York. You will never see me again."
Mm.
And when I said that, he left, but he came back.
Hey, I guess he felt it too. He knew that this is, when you know, you know.
And when he came back, we talked about it and I apologized to him. And after that moment, and it's crazy, after that moment, that's when he came and he was showing me a ring that was supposedly his mother's.
Wow.
So
Oh,
I
that's beautiful.
saw, yeah, I saw my own engagement ring before I knew I was going to get engaged.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Look where you guys are 10 years later.
Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah. Now, something that I wanted to bring up earlier, but I completely forgot about it. So, you say you're from the Bronx, but now you're living in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
What was like? What made that decision to go to leave? New York, and then head over to another state, which is starkly different.
So I was with my ex. I actually came out here because of my ex.
Oh, okay.
So we were living with her mother and her grandmother, but we rented the room, which was actually her room. But her mom was like, "Y'all need to pay up if y'all gonna stay here." But I was always working. I was always a hustler. I always had a job. Always had a high side hustle or something. I always had money in my pocket, so I would pay her. Um, One day, her aunt comes down because her aunt used to live here. She actually moved, so but long story short, her aunt came down. She was like, "Oh, you guys, you guys could buy a house. It's so cheap out there. With both of you working, you guys will have your own house in like a year and all this stuff." So they implemented that in our heads, and we were like, "Fuck it, let's go."
Hmm.
But it
And
didn't
you
turn out that
and
way.
you but at the same time, if something like that hadn't happened, you wouldn't have the life that you live now, because
Oh,
that's where you met your husband, right?
of course. I don't mean it in that sense. What I mean is we came out here to kind of like start over because we were
Right.
always in conflict, but it just got worse. So I say that God does things for a reason. And I'm a high believer in that. You will always catch me saying that in certain situations just when I hear the story. But I believe God does things for a reason. And I was put to come out here so I could meet my husband and have this beautiful relationship and home and my kids.
That's beautiful. Now, I was me being the podcaster that I am personally. I like to do research and I like to follow up on a lot of things when people come on because I want to be prepared. And also, I get like I said before, I'm a naturally inquisitive person and I get curious very often. So I happen to go on your threads, which everybody can follow at Luna Bell Kim on Threads and all social media platforms. You said something here that actually caught my attention, and I wanted to get a little bit of clarity on it. You said here, authenticity is the most beautiful thing a person could show. Why try to intimate with someone if there's so much magic in just being you? I think that was actually a pretty nice quote. What do you think was behind that?
So I always believe in, everyone is unique in their own way.
Hmm.
Some people, and I feel like it's because of the social media, they look for validation. They try to imitate someone because they feel like if they imitate that person, they could get the clout that that other person is getting. Why would you want to do anything else or be anyone else if you're pure magic? Your aura, the way you carry yourself, the way you present yourself to the world. If you're being true to yourself and you're being true to the world, no matter what it is, you're always going to get people to gravitate to you and to love you for who you are. Why would you want people to love you for being something else?
Right.
And honestly, I'm the type of person, I do not care. I will go outside in a bonnet and some sweatpants. And if you don't like it, don't look at me. I'm not here for everyone in the world, but for the people that I am here for, and they see who I really am and they love me for who I really am, that's all I care about.
That's awesome. Can we get a round of applause real quick, Steve? I love that very much. I don't know if you can hear the applause on on our end, but
I can hear
we
it.
got
That's why I think I keep laughing because every time he throws that on, it makes me
well, Steve is one of the best. I mean, I say it all the time on the show that he is the unsung hero of the show. He does a lot behind the scenes that people are not aware of. So always got to give flowers to my homeboy Steve. Love that guy.
so
So
I
yeah,
always I always like to uplift everyone. So one thing that I could say about first class, second place is you guys inspire me because I eventually want to be at the point where I have my own little background studio and I have my own crew and my own little team. So thank you for inspiring me. Thank you for keeping me motivated because this retrograde, when I tell you it's hitting, it's hitting. It's hitting. And it's crazy. Like, so thank you.
oh, you're welcome. Now, touching on retrograde, because let me explain to you. Let me explain to you something. So I'm a person that I feel like I'm very behind in a lot of ways, and I can't keep up with the way that people are thinking about, the things that they think about in this day and age. I mean, I feel like I didn't know about Mercury retrograde until maybe 2 years ago. I don't know the effects of it, and I'm just kind of like doing a crash course on everything and so on and so forth. But I guess I come from an old school mentality where, a part of me still it's kind of like having two brains. Like I have one brain that knows how the world is right now, and it's ever evolving and so on and so forth. But I also feel like I have another brain where I kind of know how things used to be, and I still have the same mannerisms and the same ideologies and so on and so forth. So sometimes trying to mesh the two together can be a little bit difficult. So, but I guess just out of my own curiosity, like what is your belief on Mercury retrograde? Like, how does it like affect you personally, and what do you do to get out of this funk that apparently it causes when people are in quote unquote Mercury retrograde?
So honestly, I like all that astrology and all that stuff. I'm not too fond of like I know everything, but I know what I
Right.
know. And my retrograde is basically it's kind of giving me like a block. I feel like as much as I know that I have my passion and I get creative, it's just creating this block where it's putting me in a state of mind where it's like not doubting myself, but I'm just like, what do I do now? Like what do I do now? And
Right.
it just keeps me like, oh, like I get frustrated and it's like my brain is racing and it's racing and I'm just like, okay, I need to calm down. So today, honestly, when I feel like that, if it's nice outside, I go for a walk.
Mm.
I go for a walk and I just try to clear my head. And obviously, I'm going to be walking with my kids because my kids are with me 24/7. Shout outs to them for being great kids tonight. They're great kids all the time, but I mean, they're great kids tonight because they haven't popped out on me. But yeah, I just go for a walk and I try to just think positive and just know that everything is going to be okay no matter what the situation is at the moment.
Okay. I think retrograde is affecting your cat right now behind you.
You see that, right? I'm trying to act calm, but she thinks it's playtime.
No, you know what? You were being very professional. So let me take the L on this one because I didn't need to point all that out and like mess up your flow. So I'll take the L on that.
Listen,
But I
it's being a mom. Being a mom.
yeah, you get in real rawness here, right here on first class, second place. So as far as like continuing on with the conversation of Mercury retrograde, excuse me, I can't even fucking talk today. But I guess it kind of goes in line with you were telling me earlier today when you said, because let me tell you, the devil has been trying me today, but it ain't stopping nothing. You heard?
Yes, definitely. Listen, I didn't go to work this morning because I woke up with the only migraine, which is weird. And this is why I say he was working today. Sorry. Oh my God. This is what I'm talking about. I'm gonna beat my cat up. I'm
What's your cat's
sorry.
name?
My cat's name is Shadow, and she lives by that name.
Shadow.
Because when she sees
I
your
can
shadow,
see,
she tries to grab you.
yeah. She's always creeping up behind.
Yes. No, but what was it again? You said,
No, because you were alluded to
oh,
earlier, yeah, about
so
when the
I didn't
devil
go
has been
to,
trying you today.
yes. You called me yesterday, like I said. So when you called me, after you called me, I started getting a migraine. My
Mm.
migraine lasted until today in the afternoon.
Hmm.
On top of that, when I was trying to set up and get everything ready so we could get our conversation on, my kids started blacking on me. They started crying. The one want lip gloss, the other one want juice, the other one needs to use the bathroom. I'm like, okay, guys, let's get all that out the way. Everything is done. Now it's time for bed. No, but mommy, we want to be with you. No, you can't be with me right now. And it was like the more time kept ticking because I know I had to get on, they just kept asking until I was like, you
Mm.
know what? I got you. Made them a little snack bowl. Here's some juice. Sit down on your little table in your room. Watch the television. And when you feel tired, lay down and go to bed. And I think it worked because they've been really, really good.
That's awesome. For some reason, I thought that, you were like dealing with something even more, monstrous, for lack of
Oh,
a better term.
I am, because
Okay. Okay.
honestly, I'm okay. So I'm gonna be real transparent right now.
Okay.
I work day shift. My husband works second shift. So
Mhm.
we carpool with a coworker because right now we only have one car.
Okay.
So the person that was giving him carpool quit. Just he left. So
Yeah.
my husband doesn't have a ride. So I've been having to stay up to go pick him up every night, and he comes out at 11:15.
Mm.
So we bought a car, and obviously it's a hoopty. So we gotta update some stuff. So by the ending of this weekend, it should be ready to go. But I've been picking him up already for like 2 weeks. I've been exhausted. I wake up at 4:30 every morning to go to work. Um, Me having to stay up so I could go pick him up, it's been a lot on me. Not only that, I don't have any help. So guess what? My kids have to come with me.
Mm.
You know what I'm
I see.
saying? So it's just the like everything with that going on, that's a lot, because for a person that has to wake up early every morning to then have to stay up all that time to do everything, and then on top of that I have to cook dinner, take care of the girls, make sure my daughter's ready for the next day of school, you know, all that comes in between. I'm not gonna lie, I've been feeling a little overwhelmed.
Mm.
And
Well, you
today,
know what? I know how strong and perseverance that you are as a person, and I think that everything that you have been transparent about on your podcast before has actually built up a lot of strength and a lot of character within you. And I feel like, me personally, what you're telling me compared to what I know about your life story, this is just a simple bump in the road. It's all
oh
it
yeah.
is, and it's going to be fine. I have total confidence in you and everything. But I just wanted, we're about to close out this episode in a little bit because we're up against the clock right now. But I have two more questions. And the first one that I'll ask you next is, with Let's Get Personal, the podcast, which again, you guys can stream on Spotify and wherever you get your podcast. What is your goal with this particular podcast at this specific time right now in the life of Kim?
So right now in my life, honestly, I am, you could say, probably just having fun with it. Is something that I've loved from the beginning. It's my baby. I tend to make it blossom even more. Like I tell everybody all the time, I am a new podcaster. So bear with me. I am learning how to use different tools. I'm learning how to do my own editing. And that is a little bit of a lot of work if people don't know. So I'm only trying to get better. I'm always willing to learn. And I see it going where I don't want to say that I want to be like an like a full influencer.
Right, right.
But if I could have a fan base where I could help people, and honestly, I would like to help people that's been through trauma themselves or is suffering from an addiction and can't help get rid of that addiction, because I know what it is to see somebody being an addict and them trying to fight to be clean, and they can't because they don't have that help or that person that can help them or just give them advice to keep pushing forward no matter what's going on.
I love that. Round of applause, real quick, Steve. Thank you very much. Love, like I said before, I love the transparency. I love the honesty. I love the personality that you have been able to display on Let's Get Personal. You have a fan in me. I'm a fan of yours already, and I'm going to always continue to support. And before I ask this last question, I just want to get this out of the way really quick, that I am very fortunate that I've been able to meet you, even though we've never met in person, but thanks to technology and all the things that are at our disposal now, I really am grateful that not only did I do that episode with a previous guest, Vanessa Varela, shout out to Vanessa and congratulations on your pending nuptials, but I'm really glad that this community has allowed me to connect with people like you and reach other the masses that I didn't think I would thought was possible when I first started the podcast in the way in the beginning back almost 2 years ago. But I love the progress that I've been able to do, and I love meeting people like you. And it's people like you. You said that first class, second place has been an inspiration to you. It's people like you that keep this an inspiration for me. So we bounce back that energy, and I think that we're going to do great things in the future. I pretty much guarantee it for sure.
Yes,
Not a,
yes.
yes. So the last question that I will ask you really quick, which is something that we ask all of our guests to come on to the show afterwards. And if you're a fan of the show, you should know what's coming next. So you,
Oh,
Kim, it's not a hard question. It's just
I
something that we can end on a
know.
positive note.
I'm waiting for you to say it.
So you, Kim, if they were to make a movie on your life, and what a hell of a movie it would be, which actress would you like to see portray your character and why?
Hmm.
There's no right or wrong answer. It's just somebody that you feel
She's
can.
not technically an actress. She's a singer,
Okay, that's fine. That's accepted.
but I would say Kalani.
Kalani, I love Kalani. Nobody said that on the show before, and I love her music.
And to be honest, I only say Kalani because, like you said, her music at one point in my life was very relatable.
Hmm.
Not only that, I love her freaking style.
Yeah,
She does that crazy, she got that swag the way she is. One minute she could be like really, really girly, and then the next minute she could be like really, really comfortable. And that's the type of person that I am. Like, I could dress up in heels, I could do the whole makeup, the whole look. But my favorite, I'd rather have some sweatpants or some sweatshorts, a t-shirt, and some sneakers. And I'm good
there
to
you
go.
go. There you go. Love it. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this episode of First Class, Second Place. Thank you so much to my lovely guest, Kim Luna, for coming through.
Thank
Is there anybody you
you.
want to give a shout out to before we close out?
I would like to give a shout out to all my ladies out there. Keep doing your thing. Shout outs to Queen Warriors. Shout outs to Maddie. Shout outs to my besties. I love you guys. I love all my supporters. Keep supporting me and support my boy. First class, second place.
Yes, and you got it right this time, because remember you messed it up the first
Yes,
time
I
around.
did. Trust and believe I was gonna get it right.
I always have confidence in you. And where can they find you real quick on social media?
If you want to look for me on social media, Luna Bella Kim. My TikTok, Kim528. That's it.
Yeah, and don't forget to check out Let's Get Personal streaming on Spotify and all wherever you get your podcasts. And ladies and gentlemen, you can find me at Jason Enrique _ on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Threads, all the social media platforms. Don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube. This has been the First Class Second Place podcast. We out.